talking to you about people that approach you on the street. And by that, I don't mean people that try and sell you things or that try and get you to sign up for services like Groupon, but people that actually come up to you and try to talk to you, even though you clearly don't want to be talking to them. Some of my Twitter followers might know this because I think I've mentioned it on there before. But last year I had a number of interesting encounters with random strangers. And so yeah, I guess I'm gonna start off with the first one. Most of these happen downtown. And so Okay, so the first guy. I was walking to the Canada Line station, and I had just gotten lunch from a Japanese supermarket. And so in one of my hands, I was holding an onigiri, which for those of you who don't know is a rice ball that's usually shaped like a triangle or an oval, and sometimes it's got filling inside of it and it's wrapped with a piece of seaweed, but it's not actually considered sushi. And so I had that in my hand, and I was walking, and out of nowhere came this guy, and he just looked at me and asked, "Oh, is that your phone in your hand?" And I was really confused, but I told him, "No, it's just my lunch." And then he started laughing, which I found really awkward, but I didn't think much of it until he kept walking alongside me and continued to do so for about 10 minutes. And all the while he was asking me, questions about myself, about school, and, I mostly lied or didn't give him a straight answer. But the problem with me is I'm too nice to say no to people, or when people start talking to me, I'm too polite, I guess you could say, to just ignore them and walk away. And so he just kept talking to me, and it was getting more and more uncomfortable. First of all, I could tell straight off the bat that he was much older than me, perhaps, 30 something. And secondly, he was smoking the whole time. And most of you probably know by now that smokers really irritate me, especially when they blow their secondhand smoke in my face. And so this guy was smoking the whole time, and just the smoke was everywhere, and I felt like throwing up, and I was just really irritated, but I didn't know how to just walk away. And so finally we got to a certain point. I think we were almost close to Granville and Robson. And I was getting more and more frantic because I was trying to get away, but I didn't know how to do so. Anyway, he asked me out for coffee, and I very politely said no. And he just kept asking, and I just kept saying no, that I had to go home, blah blah blah. And I was just so uncomfortable. But finally, I guess I got my point across that I didn't want to have coffee with him. But he gave me his business card, which I still have. I'm not sure why, but I don't know, his business card. And so he just said, "Oh, well, anytime you want to have coffee, just call me." And in my head I was like, yeah, never happening. But I took the card anyway. So yeah, that was the first encounter. Second encounter, yeah, well, if you thought the first one was bad, the second one was just extremely bad. I was downtown once again, and once again I was walking, and this guy started walking beside me, and he started talking about how nice the weather was, blah blah blah. And I was trying to ignore him, but I was just like, yeah, it's nice, and then I think he asked me, no, I think he thought I was an international student, which actually seems to happen to me quite often. I don't know. do I look like an international student? I guess maybe I do. But anyway, he was asking me, you know, about my English and stuff, and was really surprised when I told him I was born here. And then he asked me what people like to do here for fun. He told me he was from, I don't even remember. He had come from some Middle East country and had only been here for, you know, a short amount of time. Wanted to know what there was to do around here. I told him, you know, I don't go out much, just go out for food. And so he asked me what kind of food I liked. And so I told him the sushi was really good here. And then he said, oh, do you know any good sushi places downtown? And when I told him, you know, I just listed off a few places, he said, oh, do you want to come with me? I don't know how to order. And I was like, shoot, how did I get myself into this? And I told him no, I had to go home. There was actually a Canucks game going on that night, so I told him I had to rush home and watch the game. And he said, oh, you're one of those people, huh? Yes, I am one of those people. And so I just kept saying, you know, I have to go home, I have to watch the game. But then he started asking me if, you know, I was single. I told him I was, and he looked really shocked. And he said, oh, you know, how is a pretty girl like you single? And I, you know, just shrugged it off, whatever. This guy was starting to creep me out. And then he said, I can't believe it. No, okay. What happened was he asked me if I'd ever had a boyfriend, and I said no. And he said, oh, I can't believe it. And get this. He said I should film a documentary called The 20-Year-Old Virgin. And then he started laughing. And by then I was so creeped out that I just wanted to run. But going back to the whole, you know, not knowing how to get out of awkward situations thing, I just stood there mortified and just kept saying, I have to go home for the hockey game, I have to go home. And finally he was just, I don't even remember how it ended. I was just so horrified. And all I remember is I just ran. And I ran all the way to the train station, and I was so scared that I would bump into him again, but I can't even. That was the worst one. My other encounters have been, you know, not as exciting. I guess if you could call that exciting, more like extremely scary situations. But there was one time I was coming up from Whole Foods, and there was a guy standing there who started talking to me about pigeons, and somehow ended up telling me the story, like basically his whole life story and his grandson's life story. Which, you know, it wasn't so bad, just, you know, did I really have to be standing there for 15 minutes listening to some old guy talk? Like, how do I get myself into these situations? Fourth one was, I was on my way home from the mall, and there was a guy with a shopping cart, and he stopped me on the street, and he was trying to sell me things, and he was just pulling things out of his cart, and he said, oh, I have a really nice Canucks cap, it's brand new, blah blah blah, I'll sell it to you for however much money. And I was like, this is a private neighborhood, like what is this guy doing here? And it was just really weird, and he kept trying to sell me the hat, and finally this guy walked by, and he was just like, just leave, just leave. And so I very awkwardly just walked away, and the guy, the whole time I was walking, the guy was just standing there behind me, just continually yelling that he would sell me the cap. And it's just, I don't know if this happens normally to other people, or do I just have really bad luck?